This is the heavy metal rebel Frankie Kazarian and almighty Christopher Daniels, collectively known as The Addiction. We are also world travelers, loved by millions, and we both have rears that makes the girls cheer.
You're listening to the Potsy and Tino show. Keep listening. And you have permission to worship us.
Now.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Pots and Pans Network has some sound issues. We are the Potsy and Tino Show. Our theme song, as you just heard right there, is brought to you by Adam's House Cats, called The Wrestling Song. It's available on iTunes for 99 cents. And Tino, we'd like everybody to subscribe to the show, but I think you just heard why I was so pissed off about AEW's transition of SCU / The Addiction and what happened to them a couple weeks ago. But we'll get to wrestling later. First, I want to start with a little segment we call What's Up With You?
We already talked about that last week.
Oh, I know, but it still pisses me off.
Oh, okay. What's up with me? What did we do? Friday. Well, this past Friday, we got it. We were like, you know what? We want to go to the movies. I know we talked about that, and I just miss going to the movies and the popcorn and just all that. So you know what? Friday, we went and saw Scoob at Crossroads. And we'd seen it before, but I'm like, that's probably like the only one that all the movies that are out there, probably.
You want to go see Spiral?
Not with Matthew. So we went, saw Scoob. Then Saturday, oh my God, I had a doubleheader. So I DJ'd a pool party from 12 to 2, hot as balls, outside. Came home, got a chance to shower, eat a sandwich, and then had to go to Fuquay for my show at the Mason Jar Brewery 5 to 8, which was an awesome show. We had fun there. Then Sunday, I pretty much just laid around the house until we had youth with the youth group in church last night, and so that was the excitement of the weekend.
Nice, man, nice.
Went to Sunday, and I'll take that back. Sunday, went to my local GameStop to buy Madden 21 for my son, and met Derek. So I think he listens to this show because he recognized my voice. So hopefully he's watching now. So Derek, my son's enjoying the game.
That's always a good thing. Of course, if you had an Xbox, you can download Madden for free.
No, I'm not doing Xbox.
So got any shows planned coming up?
Looking at my calendar. I know I have one Friday. I just don't remember where it is. This Friday, I am at the Abbey Road and Fuquay Arena from 8 to 11. Okay. So come on out and check that out. And it's always a fun time. I've never played at the Fuquay location. I played at the Cary location, and I played at the Apex location. So this will be my first time at the Fuquay location. So that should be cool. I'm excited. Yeah.
Now, I also want you to go ahead and show everybody your shirt.
Greatest father. I'm supposed to say greatest father. What's up with you banners in a way? Greatest father, but then they put it greatest father. My kids got this for me for Father's Day last year. They thought it was funny, but it's also true because in this house, I am the greatest father.
You can totally knock people out.
I don't know. Matthew's catching up though. Oh my God. Well, in sound and smell.
And he's little.
Yeah, he's 11. He'll be 12 in August. But then it's like it's all of a sudden it's like, and Nicole will look at me. I'm like, no, that was your son. Nicole, so you always laugh at me for doing this.
Mm-hmm.
That's how Nicole lives her life now.
The two of you in the house? Yeah, I could see it. Yeah, definitely. So my week last week was kind of uneventful. I have to get the latest junior high horrors issue done. But I've been moving some things along, and like this Saturday and Sunday, if you're in the Raleigh area, Tickets, I believe, are still available for Carolina Fearfest, and I will both be at the show as a vendor selling Junior High Horrors merch, but also on a couple of the panels, it looks like. So I'll be discussing horror parodies, and I'll also be discussing horror in different mediums.
Is that the one that's on the fairgrounds when you say it was already sold out anyway?
Yeah, it very well could sell out because it's still got to adhere to the social distancing rules because it happens before June 1st.
So it has not sold out yet.
Not that I know of. I think tickets were still available. They did have like a contest. If you bought your ticket before like yesterday or something, you were able to possibly win a swag bag. So they were trying to get early bird ticket holders. Because I don't know if they're doing tickets at the door, because I don't know if you're able to do that kind of stuff. Like I don't know what the whole concept is. But if you go to carolinafearfest.com, you can check out like who's going to be there. Apparently, one of the guys from Buffy the Vampire Slayer is going to be there, and they're going to have a bunch of different celebs out there. And then of course, stop on by, pick up some comics, that kind of thing. So yeah, we got that going on, and then it will officially be announced, I think, this week that I am a featured guest at Fayetteville Comic-Con next month.
Nice.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting because like being like on the while there's no billboard for it, it'd be like you're on the marquee when you're the featured guest. So it's gonna be pretty cool.
Name or your picture or both?
What's that?
Would it be your name and your picture or both?
It's supposed to be both. Like they wanted headshots and other stuff to put up, and so I sent them a bunch of different comic book covers and everything else. And the big Junior High Horrors banner that you see behind me will probably be making an appearance at both of those shows.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's what's going on with me. It's funny because like I'm already trying to work on some other stuff, and off air I'll probably tell you like one of the projects I came up with over the weekend, because I'm sitting here going, it's really good, and at the same time going, I can't talk about it,
that sucks.
So yeah, so that's pretty much what's going on with me. I'm just having a good time and knocking out work. I've got to finish the latest Junior High Horrors book this week. Orders are due at your local comic book shop by Thursday. So if you're a comic book fan, like when Chris Barrett comes on here, if he wants to get his order in on time, it's got to be in by Thursday so that it comes in July. And then, of course, the bookstore edition is also available to order too. So, which we finally got Tino to order, which was nice.
Oh, shut up.
So
I'm still waiting.
Yeah, it comes out in July. So you keep waiting.
No. I think the money already came out.
What's that?
I think the money already came out.
Well, it was Amazon, so they probably did charge you already. They're probably collecting the interest on it because Jeff Bezos needs a new haircut or something.
Oh, damn.
So yeah, as I mentioned, Carolina Fear Fest is this weekend. So if you're in the Raleigh area, come on out to the fairgrounds, come out to the show because it'll be a fun time. And it's like the first convention to be happening since probably not last October, but the October before that. Like everything's been canceled pretty much since then.
I know. I'm so glad that everything's opening back up though. That's cool.
Yeah, no, I agree too. I really wish assholes would either wear their masks if they're not vaccinated or just go get the stupid vaccine. Like it's free. All this talk that, and I don't want to go into a political rant or anything because I don't like doing that. But for all these people to sit there and say that the vaccine doesn't have enough testing or anything else, like it's literally in 30% of the population at this point. Like, and it could be in more if you just go get your vaccine. But 30% of the population, it's been tested and proven to work. You know how many hospitalizations for people that have gotten the Pfizer vaccine as of last week there were?
2.
Okay. You know how many people have died after getting the Pfizer vaccine from COVID?
2.
0.
Oh, okay.
Not a single person. So I'm going to say it works. Anyways, like I said, don't want to get into a political thing about it or whatever. But I do want to go ahead before I lose my voice and talk about. I don't know, Tino. What do you think? You like the Vegas stories?
Yeah, those are pretty funny.
Okay. Well, there was one time where my buddy Chris Edge and I, he likes to gamble about as much as I do, which means as soon as we start getting us away from the gambling area, unless we don't have any money left, is pretty hard to do. Okay.
Oh, no.
And one year we decided we were going to go because we both worked at GameStop at the time. We were both store managers. We were rooming together and everything else. And he goes, Rob, how about we go play some poker? And I'm like, I like playing poker. I'll play poker. So we go to the MGM Grand, and we go up to the poker area, and you gotta buy at least like $200 in chips so you can sit down at the table, and then it's like a 1-2 poker game, which means, for those that don't know, it means $1 for the small blind, $2 for the big blind, and then the house takes a rake on every hand. So Edge decides to sit at the same table as me, which means I'm going to have to play against him. And there's this hand where I flip my cards up and I've got 2 7s. Okay. And I'm like, okay, I've got 2 7s and I'm in the big blind, which means I'm already in if it just checks down to me. But one guy sits there and doubles the blind. Another guy sits there and quadruples the blind. So now it's 4 times, it's $8 to play the hand. And Edge calls, and I'm like, well, I got a pair of 7s. I'm going to play the pair of 7s. I'll look to see what the flop is, see what I can do with it. And I end up getting, on the flop, it comes up like 7-3-5. Okay. So that gives me 3 7s. I'm sitting there going, check. Right? The guy who doubled the blind earlier sits there and doubles the pot size. This other guy sits there and goes up to like 8 times the pot size. So at this point, like, it's going to cost me like $70 to play the hand, right? So I'm like, well, I got 3 7s. I got the best hand out there, unless somebody has a 4-6. But if they had a 4-6, they shouldn't be playing the hand. Right? So I'm like, all right, I got to play it. I got to play it out. Edge calls. So now the pot is massive. And I'm like, well, I'll call because I don't want to scare anybody off, because right now I've got the biggest hand. I'm easily going to win a lot of money on this, right?
Right.
So the next card comes up and it's another 3. So I now have 2 3s on the board and a pocket 7. So I've got the best hand. Okay. This guy over here, the first guy checks, the second guy checks. Edge sits there and says, okay, I'm going to bet like $100 or whatever. I'm sitting there. I'm like, well, I'm going to call it, and then we get the other 2 guys to dip out of the hand. So we get to the point where, like, at this point we have almost no money left in our chip stacks. And we're like, the next card comes up and I go, I'm all in. And he goes, I call. And he throws down his pair of 5s, which gives him a full house, 5s over 3s. But I had a full house, 7s over 3s. And I sit there and I go, sorry, buddy. And I just start raking in the money. And he's like, I hate playing poker again. Like he's like telling me he hates playing poker against me. And I'm like, you could have sat at another table. It was like 6 tables playing the same game, and you had to sit down at mine. And oh man, it was nice though, because I got to rake in, like a $350 pot or whatever, and was able to
ask you how much you got.
Yeah, it was about $350. Great Legend is in the audience. Great Legend, what has been going on with you, sir? We were just going over the GameStop story of the week, me playing poker in Las Vegas this week. You'll have to forgive me, folks. I am losing my voice, so I am partaking in warm bourbon. Woo! To try to just like open up the
So you didn't chill it. You didn't put ice in it and chill it.
No. So it's a good one. It's the Russell's Reserve Single Barrel.
Is that the one I tried?
You have tried this one, yes. Very good flavor, but it's also 55% alcohol.
Good thing you're not driving.
Well, I mean, you saw how little I actually poured in my glass too. I didn't.
The show just started though.
Well, exactly. By the time the show's over, I'm gonna be like. So anyways, that's the game stuff story of the week this week. I know not super funny, but I still get a little chuckle from it every time I think about playing poker with Chris Edge. There was another person sitting at the table that ended up going all in and losing that hand as well, like one of the two guys, I guess, and he didn't have shit. Like his cards were just garbage, and yet he was like, "Oh man, you guys shouldn't have gone in with your 7s and your 5s," and it's like, I had a full house, I'm gonna go all in. Like he's one of the best hands in all of poker. So
what you have, dude?
Great Legend says he's been busy. He got to host a drink and draw for the Heroes Initiative. Man, that is awesome.
Man.
And Legend, I have a Walt Simonson story, believe it or not. He was a guest at NC Comic-Con, him and Wheezy. And when they were leaving the convention, they apparently hadn't set dinner plans that night. And they were trying to find a place to go. And I was able to sit there, walk up to them and say, "Hey, we're going to this restaurant down here. Do you want to join us?" So I ended up getting to have with the guy that created Beta Ray Bill, and Tino, you probably don't know who Beta Ray Bill is, but you probably do know who the Mighty Thor is, right?
Yes.
And Walt Simonson is very well known for his run on Thor. And Beta Ray Bill was actually like a horse-faced version of Thor. So
okay.
So he's known as Beta Ray Bill. And but we got to have dinner. It was me, my buddy Ryan Scheffler. I think Causey was out there, and we got to sit and just chill with like two of the coolest comic book legends in the world. And I was sitting there, I was like, "Well, when did you get your start drawing and everything else like in comics?" He was like 1974, and I was like, "I bet you hear this a lot, but I wasn't even born yet." And he goes, "I do get that a lot." And I'm like, "I'm so sorry," because that just sounds insulting, you know? And he's like, "No, it's kind of cool." And I was like, "All right."
I was one.
He actually, Walt Simonson actually drew one of my favorite sets of comics because it was also written by one of my favorite comic book writers, Frank Miller. Now, you might remember that name from Dark Knight Returns. You might remember that name from Sin City, Daredevil. Like, Frank is known as being like the super crime noir god when it comes to writing comics. And Tino, they wrote and drew one of my favorite books, and it was a crossover title. It was actually called Robocop versus Terminator. And Frank wrote it and Walt drew it, and it, like, the fact that they had those, and they were legends at the time that they did that book. And it literally was all about how, like, you know, Terminator, it's you go back in time and the machines always seem to start up and kill off the human race later in the future. So the humans send somebody back to stop whatever, you know, that kind of shit. So the whole concept of it, though, is that even after John Connor stops Judgment Day from happening, because humans decide they're going to create Robocop, at some point the robots still happen because Robocop is a cyborg. Right. So like it led towards the creation of Skynet and everything else. So there's this entire comic book series about like the Terminators going back in time, wanting to stop guys going back in time to stop Robocop, and you know all this craziness is going on. So it's one of my favorite books.
Wow.
Legend, if you're still in the audience, and if not, it's okay. But if you're still in the audience, who was part of the drink and draw? I would love to hear who was part of it. Obviously, I'm pretty well known for doing my sketch and sips at this point. So,
same theory, huh?
Same concept.
Absolutely. Same concept. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. So Tino, have you gotten to watch any of these WWE biographies?
Yes, I've watched them all. I watched the Warrior one today.
So I got the Warrior one to download onto my TiVo, and TiVo did one of its weird, stupid things again.
It said, "Fuck you, Rob."
It did. It fucked me because it didn't record it with sound.
Oh.
So I've got a 2-hour program with no sound.
They'll replay it.
But they will, and I'll set it up to record it again because that was one I was actually really interested in.
Dude, that was awesome. I was disappointed though, and like you said, when you were talking about all the biographies, they didn't do everything. They didn't mention his WCW run at all.
So interestingly enough, the year I met Warrior, right, was when he was announced as like the downloadable character in the WWE game, right? And that was the year that he went into the Hall of Fame and he passed away like right after the Hall of Fame. He had a sign up at the signing that said, "Don't bring me anything that is unapproved merchandise, so like bootleg shirts or whatever. Don't bring me any of that." But it also said, "Do not bring anything that has to do with my or the Self-Destruction of Ultimate Warrior DVD." Right. So I bet.
Yeah.
Did they talk about that?
It does tell the Self-Destruction. Yeah. His wife was like, if I'd have watched, she said she wouldn't watch it. She said if she'd have watched it, some people would be dead. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. It was one of those videos that they did that was like just at a weird time for the WWE, I feel like, because they had a bunch of the wrestlers like Edge and Christian sitting there like imitating him and doing like moments from it.
Well, in the doc, they said that they did that purposely because they were like, oh, you screwed us, we're screwing you. So they said, hey, you suck. We can still make money on you when you're not here, and have people pay $30 so they can pay pay-per-view prices. Like, hell yeah, it was a win-win-win. It was a hit piece. They admitted it was a hit piece.
I mean, I actually own it, so I don't know where I put it, but I own that. I also own the Chris Benoit one. So
yep,
which was just as he was getting big, and then all of a sudden, like the self-destruction of him.
Yeah, you were saying when he passed away, it was sad to hear his wife tell that story. She's like that after they left the night after Raw. So they left Raw. They flew to Arizona, and they got to the hotel, and he was like, I don't feel good. And she's like, well, yeah, it's been hectic weekend.
It's been a long weekend. Yeah.
We're all tired. And he's like, no, I think we need to go to the hospital. She's like, oh. And so she left, they were at the hotel. So she said, all right. So her kids were old enough. She said, just left them in the room, had them lock the door. And she said, as soon as they closed the door, she said it was like, and she started crying. She said it was like an oak tree falling and she couldn't catch him. And they got him to the hospital. And then they said he didn't make it. And then she's like, I got to tell my kids. She said, so on one hand, she's like, she felt bad because she's thinking, protecting my daughters, let them stay in the room with the door locked, not work. But did I take away their last chance to say goodbye to their father? That one hit me too. I was like, oh,
damn.
Oh, that was tough.
It makes you wonder though, if before he got on the plane, if he had felt like that, if he could have just went to the hospital and he'd still be here today.
Well, and his mom was saying like all the Hellwig men died from heart stuff in their 50s. She said his grandfather, his dad, and some of his brothers. So towards the end, it's kind of like he knew. That's why him and Vince made up, and he got in the Hall of Fame. He kind of knew that it was winding down, and we talked about it. Even that speech he did at Raw after the Hall of
Fame, like he knew. Yeah,
he knew. He's like, every man's heart beats for the last time. Every man's lungs take their last breath. It's kind of like he knew what was about to happen, and that's now when you look back at it.
It's very telling and very, very like just.
So it's good. It's what you see it, but it's real good.
Well, I definitely want to see that one. I also want to see the Mick Foley one that's happening this weekend.
Yeah.
Because and it's funny because Mick actually was very apprehensive. He talks about it in interviews. He was very apprehensive about wanting to be a part of it because he was like, I've already written 3 autobiographies. The WWE did basically took that first book and pretty much told the story with it and showed us matches and everything else that were. So he was like, I really didn't think that there was anything else for me to say. And then A&E came at me with this idea, and it was like, wow, I want to do that. So I'm pretty interested to see that because and for those out there that don't know, Mick Foley's probably my favorite WWE superstar of all time. And you know, I liked Austin. I grew to love The Rock. You know, all that stuff as they were there. But Foley resonated. Like, he was good on the mic, and he looked like the everyman. So someone like you or me who don't have the physique to sit there and be a WWE superstar, you resonated with Mick Foley because he was you, and someone like you or me could be really good on the microphone even without the talent to be a pro wrestler.
See, and my favorite wrestler for that same reason. Where yours is Mick Foley, mine is the American Dream, Deputy Rhodes, baby. Because he said my belly might be too big, my hiney might be too big. And it's just the same thing with Foley. You can see yourself. He's not big muscles, but he cut a promo. He's out there, kicking butt, and he doesn't look like a Hulk Hogan or Ultimate Warrior. He's like, hey, he looks like me. I could do that. You know what I'm saying?
And yet, interestingly enough, like you look at Foley's matches, and I mean, he could have a great match with Vader. He could have a great match with The Undertaker. He could have a great match with Shawn Michaels. It didn't matter. Like, he was able to put on 30 minutes of entertainment, even without being able to sit there and do a 5-star frog splash or a plancha, or a suicide dive off the top rope kind of thing. Although Mick was crazy enough to do the suicide dive off the top rope.
And I think there's a lot of parallels with him and Dusty too, because like you said, Dusty could put on an entertaining match and not have to do the high flying. And like Mick Foley, they're both excellent promos. So I think,
Yeah, it's funny too, because a lot of people do put Dusty Rhodes up there for like best promo of all time, and you rarely hear Mick Foley's name get announced for the same thing. And it's like when you think about it, those two guys did more with less than anybody else ever in the industry, right? So
he came over with damn black and yellow polka dots and got it over and made it work.
Well, that pissed Vince off.
Yeah,
because Vince was trying to bury him.
Yeah,
and like during that time, Dusty took it. He ate that shit with a smile, and he got over.
But then, and that's the thing, he tried to do that. He tried to do that with Mick, with Mankind, by putting that mask on him.
I don't know if he tried to do. I think so. So one of the really interesting things on the WWE Treasures show that they're doing, they were talking about that Mankind mask, and it was supposed to be an Undertaker mask. And that when Vince likes something, he's gonna push it on somebody. And because of that, he looked at Foley, and he didn't see a superstar, so he was like, well, I still like that mask.
I think part of it too is when Foley came over, he was already made man. People knew him as Cactus Jack. So, you know what I'm saying? I think that's part of it. I always thought it was part of it too, that it's not something that Vince came up with. So he wanted to start from scratch. So he covered him so people wouldn't know who he was. But once you heard that voice, you knew who the hell that was.
Well, exactly. But I mean, and then they started the vignettes where they were talking about how he was Mrs. Foley's baby boy, right? So so like, even though he was known as Cactus Jack, like, you are now learning from the inside who he really was, which is Mick Foley. And like, one of the things that Stephanie actually said on the Treasure show, which I thought was interesting, was she goes, each of his 3 personas as a pro wrestler were equally parts Mick Foley. Like they were, like, at this point, you literally have 5 entities of Mick Foley, if you will. You've got Mick Foley, who is the commish and whatever, right? You've got Cactus Jack, who is probably the most well-known character, Mankind, and then Dude Love, who he always wanted to be, right? But you also have Mick Foley, Santa Claus.
I forgot about Santa Claus.
Because that's what he does now, right? So anyways, I look forward to watching the Ultimate Warrior one. Hopefully they've got it replaying this week rather than having to wait like 3 or 4 weeks like they sometimes do. Although I have noticed that what they're typically doing is they're putting whichever one was on this week is on before the new one. So so worst case scenario, I'll have to wait a week to see it, but I'm pretty excited about it. So Tino, we're already talking about pro wrestling, so we might as well
jump into it.
We might as well talk about the pink elephant in the room.
Purple.
Whatever. I mean, well, Well, it's a pretty big drop, as the WWE has come to terms with the release of Patrick. What's his last name?
I don't know. Dream.
Velveteen Dream. I keep wanting to call him Patrick Bateman, but I know that that's the guy from American Psycho.
If I can find it, Velveteen Dream. But it's just one of those things where, was he not cleared? I don't remember. Wasn't he cleared?
So
Patrick
for him to be released this late after everything happened, I would say that while they might not have been able to find anything, they also weren't able to clear him. Like that's the only thing I can assume at this point is that NXT passed him by.
Well, see, I'm reading right now. It said WWE claimed they investigated allegations and didn't find anything. And
yeah, but they say that all the time just because they want to continue using the talent, right? I mean, like look at Jordan Devlin. Jordan Devlin sits there, comes back with the cruiserweight belt, and what's the first thing that happens? He drops the belt.
Yeah, but he's still wrestling. He's still with the WWE.
I haven't seen him.
He's coming back. No, he had to go back to where he was from, Ireland, for the UK. Yeah, but he's coming back. But it doesn't matter. Velveteen will get picked up somewhere. Yeah, that hurt.
Yeah, that one went down and like got caught. Woo!
Velveteen will get picked up.
I don't know. And I'll say that yes, he'll end up being on the market, probably end up in Impact. He'll have to come up with a new name because I'm sure that intellectual property is owned by WWE.
He might end up at AEW or ROH, maybe not Impact.
So Impact seems to be the place where they really don't care as much about what happened in your past. You know, they picked up Moose when he had allegations of possible sexual assault. They picked up Rich Swann, who had some bad stuff in his background. I mean, they you know, like, and now with Velveteen, it's one of those guys where it's like you kind of think that if he's going to go anywhere first, that's probably where they're going to want to sign him first. Is all I'm saying. Doesn't mean he won't, and it doesn't mean he won't end up in AEW or he won't end up somewhere else. But I would think that like first he'll get his first couple matches with Impact.
Possibly.
I mean, if he was smart, he'd go to Japan because man, they'd be able to market him out there. You know, but it is what it is. It's one of those things where it almost seems like WWE kept him so that he couldn't be signed anywhere else. And then all of a sudden, when they went through these latest round of layoffs, people were like, well, you're not using him. Why does he still work here?
Because they know someone's going to snap him up, like you said. I bet you. It's a matter of time. He's got what? So what now? He's got what, 90 days from now?
Yeah, it would be 90 days from whenever his actual release was. So again, we'll end up seeing him somewhere, I'm sure.
Yep.
So, all right, Tino, last week, Monday Night Raw, we do have to talk about it a little bit. Kofi Kingston goes double time, wrestles 2 matches, and becomes the first guy in over a year to pin Bobby Lashley.
While I'm glad to see it, I don't know if they're going to pull the trigger and let him beat Lashley for that title.
I don't see it. I you know, one of the things that I do find really interesting is obviously Kofi Kingston was the first African American to win the WWE Championship, full-blooded full African, actually the first African born, because he was born in Ghana. So to know that he was the first African American, but he was also the first African to actually win the title is, and when I say the title, I mean the WWE Championship, not the Universal Championship or whatever, but the first one to win. And nobody's saying anything about how Bobby Lashley's the second African American to win that title.
That's true.
It's pretty interesting, isn't it?
Like, I hadn't thought about it like that. Yeah.
What's that?
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And and nobody's talking about it.
Wow.
And then the first person that he loses to is another African American.
Yeah.
Which is totally fine. That's not meant to like poke the bear or anything in any situation. And what it's saying though is that he's still protected even in that loss. You know, like it wasn't Drew, it wasn't the Great White Hope beating him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. We got more with RK Bro and Tino. I love it, and I know you do too. But I think they're going the opposite way with it than what we were really assuming was going to happen. Like Randy's influencing Riddle into being a little more heelish.
I'm cool with that too.
And I hope that what it leads to down the road, because everyone's already like, you know, when Randy's done with it, he's just going to give him an RKO and he's going to be done with it. And I'm like, I hope that what happens instead is they win those tag team championships and then Riddle turns on him. Because Randy's at that age now where you really don't want to ever boo Randy.
Yeah.
You know? But Riddle, like everybody's looking at it like, you know, that like everybody looks at him as a joke right now.
Yes.
I mean, he rides around on a scooter. You know, like that's Santino bullshit.
Yes.
For a legit fighter too, mind you.
Well, that's what's written. That's what he's got to work with.
Exactly.
It's beyond me how he's fallen. How Vince is pretty much like, and it's amazing to me that Riddle. Well, not amazing to me. Riddle is taking this hand that he's dealt, and like you said, he's eating it. He's riding that scooter, but you know what I'm saying? People are still cheering him and loving him. He's basically the Jason Mewes of Monday Night Raw right now. I'm thinking he's RVD 2.0.
Well, he's talented enough to be better than RVD.
Yes.
He's a legit striker. So I mean, he's a fighter, you know, like, and this is why Santino is such a relevant, like, correlation there, because Santino was a legit street fighter, you know.
I just want him to
make fireballs out of his hands.
Now it's cool, this gimmick that he has now, but I want to see him get mean, pull a Roman Reigns, get mean and get vicious, and show what he can do, because like you said, he's legit.
Yeah. And that's why you know, Terrence and I were actually talking about it. Terrence is in the audience now. Him and I were talking about it, and we would really like to see Riddle be the one to turn on Randy, because it'd be a little bit more out of left field and a little less expected than Randy turning on Riddle. Because Randy's got that career of, when I'm done with it, I'm done with it, and then I'm dropping you with an RKO, boom, done, and it's over, right? From out of nowhere, that whole bullshit. So it seems to be my phrase tonight. That kind of bullshit.
That kind of bullshit.
Other than that, did we really get anything else on Monday Night Raw? We got a little bit more with the Alexa Bliss thing. We got exactly what I said was going to happen after WrestleMania Backlash, with Charlotte sitting there saying, "I wasn't pinned. I deserve to be going for the championship again." I liked how Rhea came out and actually like ran her down on that, basically saying, "You've gotten shot after shot after shot. You don't deserve another shot at this point. Time to step out of the way and let someone else do it." Really liked that. Really thought that was quality stuff. I find it interesting that WWE apparently backstage, and I'm going to go with what the dirt sheets say, like Dave Meltzer, they put AJ Styles in a match against Elias, and it's supposed to be heel versus heel, and yet the crowd is trying to cheer AJ Styles, and they're being told not to. Like,
I know that.
Why do you put them in a match with each other when you know that they're going to cheer for somebody and they're going to boo somebody, right?
Yeah.
Like, it makes no sense. But, you know, before we continue with the shows, another big announcement came out. You know, AEW announced last week that they're going to start going back on tour. And then WWE decided, okay, AEW announces 3 places. We're going to announce a 25-city tour. Like it was like
outdone.
It was like it was. Oh, really? Well, this is what we got instead. It
was also announced AEW is going to TBS.
TBS, yeah. Beginning of 2022, they will be moved to TBS. But they're going to have specials on TNT and a 1-hour Friday show, which is going to be led into by SmackDown. Like, interesting, isn't it? Like, don't be surprised if all of a sudden Talking Smack comes back to Friday nights.
Oh, after SmackDown goes off?
Yeah, don't be surprised if on Peacock WWE decides we're going to try to keep our audience on SmackDown by putting them on TV, by putting them on the network. Because right now, you can watch that on Saturday, but that's only because they edit it down. Like I'm pretty sure that they might go live with it again. So lots of good wrestling news this week, man. Like we're getting touring back. We're and we're in that south area, so I mean, there's a possibility that the Raleigh or what's that place that, like, not Charlotte, but right outside of Charlotte, that we end up going to from time to time to watch Ring of Honor or whatever.
Concord. Yeah,
Concord. Like don't be surprised to see all of a sudden like NXT is going to be in Concord, North Carolina, because they know that they'll sell the show out. So I'm excited, man. There's lots of good stuff there. Now, there's also a lot of good stuff here on NXT. Last week you had title matches.
Yes.
You had Dexter Lumis in a really super creepy couple moments with what's her name? Indy Hartwell.
You had Indy find out that
he still loves me.
That was so funny.
And this was after he stopped massaging her and walked off like this.
You had Ted DiBiase show up to cause
that's like our big moment when we're talking about NXT, and you just start talking about it instead of you got to lead into it. Like you see Cameron Grimes get out of his car and he throws the keys at somebody, and they just give him his keys back and say, "Sorry, Ted's already parked up front." And then of course, Cameron thinks he's going to get one up on DiBiase. So what's he do? He plays DiBiase's worst hits.
He said the greatest hits, but they all
the greatest hits. They should have called it the greatest shits of Ted DiBiase. They even showed Virgil pinning him, which was amazing. And then what happens? The crowd starts going nuts and starts chanting DiBiase.
And he did not expect that.
And he was like, damn it, DiBiase. And then, of course, DiBiase comes out. DiBiase causes him to lose his match. And they're apparently going to have another this week between Ted DiBiase and Cameron Grimes.
I'm loving it.
Now, everyone talks about how well AEW uses their legends and how they put over their stars. I'm not going to say that WWE isn't taking note of that and trying to do it their way, but their way seems to be working.
Yeah.
Their way seems to be working. We got more with Legado del Fantasma versus I'm starting to love this tag team because they can lose every match and be glorified jobbers, but damn it, Tino, when you've got Thatcher and Ciampa in a wrestling match as a tag team, like, it's just amazing to watch.
Yeah.
They literally put on a clinic every week. And like I said, they lose every match.
It doesn't matter though.
Doesn't matter. They are so over.
They're over.
They are so over. And like, it almost looks like Ciampa's winding down his NXT career because he's taking all these losses and still being in high profile matches.
You think he's like retiring? I think he's getting ready to go up to the main roster.
With him, he seems like the type of guy that probably saved all of his money, has something else on the side ready to start, and when he's done, he's done. And there are people that he probably does want to face on the main roster, like who wouldn't want to go up against Roman Reigns or Cesaro or Shinsuke Nakamura or whatever. But I don't know, man. I think he's the type of guy that's like, Vince is never going to look at me as the world champion, and I don't really want to go anywhere else because I'm never going to make this kind of money again.
Yeah, there you
go. This week on NXT, like I said, we get another confrontation between Cameron Grimes and Ted DiBiase, but Tino, we also get the rematch that Paul Heyman actually said.
I don't want to gloss over, forget this very important match, the cage match.
I'm going to get to it. I just want to give I want to give the because they did that video package.
Okay.
Now I'm going to say that this video package was not as good as the Cole O'Reilly one.
No.
But it gets you hype. It makes you want to see this Tuesday's match. And of course, like, don't be surprised if they show that video package again tonight during Monday Night Raw. Because they've started doing those vignettes and everything for NXT on Monday Night Raw. I would think that you will possibly see that package again. But you're right. We do need to talk about the main event because it was Thick Boy, Bronson Reed, the colossal of a man that he is, taking on the Way's only 3-time North American champion Johnny Gargano. And at Tino, you want to talk about a delivery of a match. Let's be real. If you had to say that Johnny Gargano is the something of NXT, you go, he's probably the godfather of NXT. You go with he's the showstopper of NXT. He's the main event
of NXT.
And Ciampa was the Blackheart of NXT. But overall, he is the Shawn Michaels of NXT.
I would say he's probably the Undertaker of NXT.
No, he's the Shawn Michaels because every time he has to deliver a match, he delivers the match. Like Undertaker did that for 30 years. Don't get me wrong, but there were some stinkers in there. Whereas Shawn Michaels, when was the last time you ever said Shawn Michaels had a stinker? And I don't want to hear that you used that Saudi Arabia match that he came back after 4 years to be part of, because I'm going to tell you, he didn't give a stinker of a match there. Those other 3 guys shit the bed.
Oh, okay. You
telling me I'm wrong?
He was part of it. You can't put out of that whole match. He's the perfect one out of them.
The closest to perfect that you could get.
Okay.
But he still gave an 8, which for him is low because he's normally given 12s and 13s out of 10s.
Wow.
But Bronson Reed stepped up. He wins the match. He immediately drops to his knees and starts to cry with the belt in his hands. And he's been doing it for 14 years, and it's just like the raw emotion.
That was 14. They were saying that's the 14 years to the day of when he started his first. That was the 14 years to the day of his first match.
Yeah, something like that. And maybe that's why they held off him not winning it before. But I'll tell you, man, like there is so. Am I a mark when it comes to NXT? You're damn right I am. But that was about as perfect of an ending to an episode of NXT as you could possibly have. And I say that as we get ready to talk about.
Oh, because there's one particular part. I texted you. I was like, did this some bitch just say?
I'll let you go ahead and start it up.
Well, it was the first match of the night too, wasn't it? When it was the Acclaim going against Moxley and Kingston. So Moxley and Kingston come out first. The Acclaim come out and he's doing the rap and he's talking shit about, that he runs on his opponents. He got the Moxley. He said, "You got Renee calling me for oral sessions." The podcast. He said, "Oh, it's a podcast." So because she has that podcast.
She has a podcast called Oral Sessions.
When he said that, though, the camera, I think, panned to Moxley, and Moxley grabbed a hold of Kingston. And if you read, I think he was looking like, I'm about to fucking kill this. And
well, did you notice that the first one that Moxley hits isn't the guy that said it?
Oh, I thought it was the guy that said it.
No. No.
The guy that said it knew he got the fuck out the ring.
Oh, yeah. Well, Kingston went after him, probably looked at him and said, "You're a fucking idiot."
But Moxley tried to take that guy's jaw off. And I don't think he pulled it. That wasn't working snug. He hit him.
Yeah, he potatoed him.
Yes.
And I mean, unfortunately, the kid that said it earned it, and the other kid took it. Yeah, it was. So interestingly enough, AEW's ratings went down this week. They lost almost 100,000 viewers.
Really?
Yeah. Now I don't know if it's because like we were expecting another 18-minute Cody Rhodes talking session that just puts everybody to sleep. I don't know if that's what it was that we were waiting on. We didn't get it, thank God. I don't know if it was the fact that like Kenny Omega, I don't even think was announced for the show. But let's put it this way. We know that Orange Cassidy is a draw, right? Well, Orange is hurt, so you can see them losing 100,000 viewers because he's not on there. But that's 10% of your audience not showing up this week. And it's interesting because you look at the match lineup that they had. You know, they had Miro coming out with his championship, sitting there and explaining, you know, why he's as good as he is. You had the talking session between Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page versus Sting and Darby Allin. You did have Kenny come out and cut a promo. They showed Orange Cassidy backstage from the week before, even though, you know, he was sitting at home with his knee injury. So, I mean, there was a lot of good stuff on the program. And, of course, the main event delivered, right? It was Young Bucks versus Varsity Blondes. And you get a very emotional Brian Pillman Jr. coming out and cutting a promo on them. And you're led to believe that this could be the night. Except you weren't led to believe that. You knew they had no chance.
I didn't hear what he said about what the Bucks said about Brian Pillman Sr. that fired him up.
Well, it's probably on being the elite, and I don't watch that. So, and not because I don't like it or anything like that, but because I'm already investing how many hours a week into pro wrestling, especially now with the A&E biographies and the Treasure Show and everything else. Like I'm just spending too much time watching wrestling right now. Especially when I got good stuff to watch, like Mighty Ducks Game Changers. It's really good. It's really good. And then Loki starts next week. No, the week after. The week after, yeah. June 9th. They moved it to Wednesdays, Tino.
What? Why?
Because Star Wars has their episodes on Fridays now. So, hey, it means twice a week I get to watch Disney Plus now. Speaking of streaming services and things, guess what I watched yesterday? Well, the WWE had a tie-in to it at WWE WrestleMania Backlash, Tino.
Oh, the Batista movie, the Army of the Dead or whatever.
Army of the Dead.
Was it good?
It was fun. It was fun. So many inconsistencies in the film because Zack Snyder doesn't use an editor when he makes films. Okay, like you knew that watching his 4-hour and 7-minute Justice League movie because he literally said he had a 4-hour and 7-minute cut of the film, and that's what they showed us. There was no editing. Like you would have been able to edit an hour out of that and still have the same film. But I digress with that. Army of the Dead, fun. Your typical zombie thing, except it had huge discrepancies in it. Like, for example, it's all about how these zombies are smarter and faster, okay? So they actually, like, communicate with each other by, like, going like that and talking to each other. Kind of bullshit, right? Kind of bullshit. I just did it again. So there's this one scene where the king of the zombies like looking Batista in the face, right? Well, Batista gets on a helicopter and flies away to go try to save his daughter or whatever. And by the time the helicopter lands, that king of the zombies is already in the other building going after his daughter.
He's got a
that motherfucker's faster than a fucking helicopter, apparently.
He's the Flash zombie.
It must be. And then for some reason, some of the zombies, when they got killed, would have like blue sparks come out of their faces. So I didn't understand it. But why? And I won't even go. I don't want to ruin the film for anybody. Like I said, it was actually fun, but it's not a good movie. But it was fun. Okay, I'll leave it at that. I enjoyed my 2 hours lost. What else you got for AEW? We got another Serena Deeb match versus Red Velvet last week.
Yeah, I didn't think Red Velvet was. I'm waiting for Thunder Rosa to come back and take that belt back.
Well, I find it really interesting that belt has been defended like 10 times as often as the AEW Women's Championship.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why.
I don't either.
Like,
are they? Is because Sheeta's there every week? So
yeah, she shows up and she does something every week.
So it's not like she's not there to defend it.
Now I did like the interaction with Rebel, with Sheeta. Thought that was funny. You know, like making it look like her leg hurt and whatever, and then doing jumping jacks. And I was like, man, that's a bitchy move there.
That's a Guerrero move.
It is. So the main event, I want to talk about this because I've been railroading the Young Bucks for a while now. I know these guys are talented. I know that they put on hell of a match like almost every week. This week we did get to see the Varsity Blondes attempt 2 pinfalls in the match. So good, because that's 2 more than some of the other teams that they've gone up against have. But once again, the Young Bucks do their try to cheat to win thing, and they get away with it. Now, the referee caught them doing it this week, and they just threw another, whatever the aerosol cans thing they're doing. It's like,
they sprayed where did the cheerleader come from?
I don't know, but she fits them well. Yeah. So I was okay with it. When you can enhance your package by bringing in another face to be, to make it a stable rather than just, a tag team, or make it a ballet for your tag team. She doesn't even have to talk, as long as she's good eye candy, she's doing her job. Right. So, but yeah, we're, I guess, is it this weekend that the AEW pay-per-view is? Yeah, I think it is. I think it's Sunday night. Yeah. I'm not buying it. Like if you want to come over and you want to pay for it, you can do that. You can watch it on
or wait till Monday and they'll be free on YouTube.
We don't do that, Tino. Maybe.
I forgot that something on NXT, and we went right over it. There was a new faction that debuted on NXT last week and actually had the first match this week, and that was
if Terrence is still in the audience, it's one of Terrence's favorite moments.
What was it?
Hit Row. He's loving Hit Row.
Hit Row. And they got the dude that's on. I'm watching it. I'm just like, because you see him on Treasures. He's this big doofy guy, and then he's trying to be hard. He's the.
I'll give you $2,500 for it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, what is this anyway? Why do they always do this? Is that dramatic?
Yes, he's thinking. He's like,
He's thinking,
so they had a good
thinking.
So I'm thinking. So are all of them going to wrestle? So is the girl going to be a valet, or is she going to wrestle too? Because
they do make it sound like all 4 of them are going to wrestle. You know what I liked about the dynamic of the tag team was that the little guy was kind of like it was kind of like when you see in Tom and Jerry, you see the little dog and the big dog, and the little dog's going, "What are we going to do now, Spike? What are we going to do now, Spike? What are we going to do now, Spike?" And the big dog actually had to pull him off and toss him back because he was too amped up. And I love that. And I don't know if that's going to be like something that they continue doing or what the deal is, but I loved that moment because I was like, this just reminds me of a cartoon.
Yeah.
Like the little guy, the little guy thinking or having little man's complex because he's so much smaller than everybody else in his group that he's going to be the one with the attitude. Oh, I did want to talk about two other moments from AEW.
Okay.
Sean Spears
going off on the dude in the restaurant,
wanting his drink filled, not saying anything. And then when the guy goes to fill up everybody else's glass, he just takes his head and slams it into the table.
And it's going to hit him in the back of the head with a bottle.
My favorite part of that, though, is Tully Blanchard pulls out his money clip and just tosses the guy the money and says, "That should take care of it, right?"
Oh, man.
I really liked that segment. I liked the Inner Circle segment, except I really think, and I guess it's because there was only 3 weeks between the Blood and Guts match versus the pay-per-view that they're doing. But I mean, is it just me or is the writing on the wall that the Inner Circle loses this match?
I don't know. But why? Why are they going to break them up?
I mean, think about it this way: you've got her. What is it? Santana and Ortiz, and they should be going after the tag team championships on a weekly basis, and they're not anywhere near it. FTR is not anywhere near it. Sammy Guevara at this point should have been going after Darby Allin for the TNT title, but now it's on Miro, so like they immediately go, let's go with a big guy for that match, which I think is stupid. So I'm just like, what's the Inner Circle doing?
Yeah.
Like everyone keeps talking about how Sammy Guevara's gonna be the next breakout talent and everything. I mean, all he seems to be breaking out of is getting in trouble. So, or being hurtful in the ring by dropping Matt Hardy on his head twice. It's like, I don't know. I kind of feel like at this point, 2 years into the AEW run, the Inner Circle's done everything they're gonna do. So breaking them up means Jericho can take time off, because I'm sure it's in his contract that he gets to, and he really hasn't done it during the entire pandemic. Now, granted, that's probably because all of his tours got canceled, so why not wrestle every week instead? But I don't know. I just think that this is another one of those moments where Jericho's going to say, okay, I'm going to do the job so that Max gets over even more as a heel. And in that process, I think that it's wrong. I think that Jericho's group should win this next match. And then maybe you do a blow-off match, at your big pay-per-view of the year. But, I mean, we're also expecting this is going to be a cinematic match. So if it's a cinematic match...
This is their big one. This is Double or Nothing. This is the one they start at when it all started.
Oh, was it? I thought September was their... I thought All In was their big one.
I thought Double or Nothing wasn't Double or Nothing that started it.
No, they did their first pay-per-view as All In. And Double or Nothing was their second one because it was...
You're right.
So I don't know. I'm just... Right now I'm at the point where I'm like, I think it's a waste. And again, I think what it doesn't accomplish what they're trying to get it to accomplish. Kind of like the Young Bucks going up against SCU. I just don't think that it accomplished what it was meant to do, and they fucked one of the best tag teams of all time out of wrestling with each other. So it is what it is. And then Christian Cage has just been money since going to AEW. Like, he's on average wrestling 15-minute matches every week when he's on.
And they're not quitting. Like, the matches he's wrestling, I'm like, you're better than it. And I think that's how good he is, because you're like, dude, you're better than this. You're getting your ass whooped like 50% of this match. But then you still come out.
But I mean, that's a back and forth match, right? But you have to think. You have to think. Here's a guy that has wrestled 3 matches now in 7 years, right? So like he would get his ass kicked for a while because his body hasn't quite like gotten all that rhythm back. So you can totally understand it. You can see it, but he makes it look so fucking easy.
Yeah.
Like
WWE definitely dropped the ball on that one.
Well, I don't know if they ever had the ball in their court. Like he got back in shape, did the Royal Rumble. They probably thought that they were in the driver's seat on bringing him back for a program with Edge. And then all of a sudden, like Tony Khan said, give me a meeting. Just let me talk to you. And before you knew it, he was signed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so good on everybody in that transaction. You know, did it hit where they wanted it to when the Big Show said it was the biggest announcement? No. But since then, he has proved that he is worth every dime that they're paying him. So that's the way I feel about it.
SmackDown.
So, all right, Tino. SmackDown.
That's your show. You like that show.
Let me start with this.
My show's NXT. Your show's SmackDown.
If I was Jey Uso, I would fucking hate the fact that my brother wants to be a tag team wrestler. You know, I get it. Solidarity, brotherhood, all that bullshit. Did it again. Except while Jay was out for a year, or Jimmy was out for a year, Jay made himself into a singles wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
In the most blatant of terms, the prestige of being a main event singles star outshines and outweighs anything you can accomplish as a tag team.
Now on the tail end of that, this week, there's talk that
they're going to win the titles.
Nope. Jay's going to turn on him.
Seems obvious, right?
I'll start the feud with him and with Jimmy and Roman.
And I don't care about that. Like, I don't care about it. To me, that's a dumb feud. We've already seen it. In fact, it's his twin brother. All you have to do is watch it again.
But you didn't care about it when it was Jay, and now you praise Jay.
No, I did like it when it was Jay. I thought that it was a really smart way of trying to build that character up. I also thought that what it did was it really made Roman into the heel that he was. I said all that stuff. At the same time, like I said, though, if I was Jey Uso, I would look my brother in the eye and I would be like, you don't understand. When we started this, we never wanted to be a tag team. We did it because it's the only way we could get our foot in the door. We always wanted to be world champion by ourselves. Now, would I be in your corner when you win it? Absolutely. That's fine. But I want to be a single star. I want to win the Intercontinental title. I want to win the world title. I want to win the Universal title. I want to win whatever championship says that I am at the top of the mountain by myself. And you were gone for a year. And in that year, Oos, I became the man. I main evented pay-per-views. I won matches against guys like Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal myself without you, Oos. All you did for me in that year was you forced me to give up my chance at the Universal Championship. So why would I want to tag team with you?
He didn't force him.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
But he did. And remember, so Tino, this is one of those things where as a villain, you feel justified in your statement. That's what makes you the hero of your own mind.
Yep. I get that.
And that's how you sell it. And then you have Jimmy sit there and go, so what's this mean, Oos? And then he looks at him and goes, we'll do it one more time, but after that, we're through. You can either join the family and let me go on this ride to superstardom as main event Jey Uso, or you're going to be put down like the dog you are.
Which is probably what's going to happen this Friday.
Sure, but then why would Jimmy get a match against Roman if Jay's the one that turns on him?
Because Roman comes in and Roman's going to be there to jump him.
Well, Roman will be the one that sits there and actually just holds the title on his shoulder.
I think Roman's going to come. What I think is going to happen, I think that's going to be in that match. Roman's going to come in. He's going to do something to Jimmy, and then Jay's going to come in, and Jimmy thinks Jay's helping him, and then they're going to whip his ass. But I think Roman's going to be the catalyst. He's going to be the one that jumps on him first.
You don't think Roman, being like the mob boss that he's supposed to be, is not going to sit there and sick his dog on Jimmy Uso?
Just like when Jimmy was winning that match last week, Roman came in and couldn't stand it.
Well, yeah, but that was specifically because Roman had been talked down to and told, maybe I can beat him and you can't.
But what I think is going to happen is Jay and Jimmy are going to be doing good in that match. Roman's going to get jealous and like, hey, maybe Jay's going to leave, and he comes in and fucks it up by jumping on Jimmy. You know what I mean? His jealousy kicks in.
Maybe. I don't know. We talked about the end of NXT, and we talked about the end of AEW, and the end of SmackDown was a fatal four-way match. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Big E, and what's his name? Apollo. For the Intercontinental title. It was a great match. But I have to ask something. And you started asking this before the Royal Rumble. And your question was, why are we supposed to care about Kevin Owens?
Yep.
And Tino, it is a travesty of justice of what they're doing with Kevin Owens.
Yep.
Because here's the thing. He is over more than anybody else probably on the SmackDown roster.
Yep.
Except maybe Daniel Bryan, who rumor is they're really close to him signing again. And when Austin was at the peak of his popularity, right? Did anyone ever come out after Austin? Even if they were the champion, they would get announced first, and Austin would always come out last because he was going to get the pop. Owens comes out, and it's like you almost think they're not even going to play his music. Like you think that he's going to come out during the commercial break and be standing in the middle of the ring at the beginning.
It's true.
The guy gives 5-star performances night in, night out. He gets on the mic and he sells his match and he shows you the money, like Dusty used to always say. And yet, for some reason, he's being relegated to nothingness. He's in the same feud he was in 7 years ago.
I won't be surprised if he leaves or asks for his release.
He's not going to ask for his release. He's in a good enough spot in the WWE to where at least 3 times a year he goes after the major championships, which means he's getting paid. The money isn't anywhere else. And while I'm sitting here saying that they've relegated him to next to nothingness, he's still relevant because he's one of like the 8 guys that's still on SmackDown every week.
Yeah.
Look at Ziggler. Ziggler's the same thing, man. Like, he's always in a feud.
But Ziggler's got the title.
No, he doesn't.
That's right. They just lost it. That's right.
Yeah. But he had the tag team title, which we know means nothing. And we know it means nothing because they literally have had how many sets of singles wrestlers win those titles?
Well, that's any point in time here lately.
Yeah, but it's like constant.
It's the NXT tag titles is the same. You know what I'm saying? That's all the titles.
Well, no, the NXT tag titles are MSK.
Well, before that, look at the women's. They just started that. But you got Omos and AJ.
Mm-hmm. Well, remember, at least almost actually did sign his tag team contract.
Next.
I don't really have anything else, man. Like,
I think it was that one.
We did get the big reveal at the end of SmackDown. After he was talking throughout the show and putting on weird reading glasses for most of it, Aleister Black comes down and starts a feud with Big E. And we also got more of the Seth Rollins and Cesaro Nobody Wants to See This Again match. And then last but not least, we're getting a feel-good story with Natty and Tamina.
Yeah.
So I mean, SmackDown again, like, solid show, man.
I like it. SmackDown's been hitting out the park. Between SmackDown and NXT, they need to do something with Raw. And then if they can do something with Raw, I mean, they've got it. They got the Grand Slam.
They really would, and it's interesting because like they just like something just never seems
to click.
Well, and I don't think last week's episode was as bad as some weeks previous, but it still didn't feel good, and it feels too long, and it feels like I only want to watch 90 minutes of it at most, and even that I want to fast forward.
Yeah.
You know, so but that's pretty much all I got, Tino.
Cool.
Yeah, we didn't have as much going on in the chat, so it made it a little bit easier to get through the show.
Yeah.
So why don't you go ahead and tell everybody out there.
You can check him out on the Twitter at Potcheck. I'm HootieFan91. You can check him out on the Insta, Rob Potcheck. I'm SC.
Fearfest this weekend.
Don't forget about Fearfest this weekend. Bitch. You can check the show out on Twitter at Potsy and Tino. On the Facebook, it's Potsy and Tino Show. You're checking us out right now on the YouTube, so you know that one. What's your Twitch? Even though you're not on Twitch that much.
Rob Potsy Potcheck.
Your sipping sketch on
Instagram, TikTok, Rob Potcheck.
All right. And as always, we want to say thank you to Adam's House Cats for the wrestling song. You can buy that on iTunes for 99 cents. And as always, in the Queen City, you hear Ric Flair, and he is saying, "Woo!
Good night, everybody." It's Steve!